I don't know why they wanted to call this confessional. I'm not ashamed of being a Trekkie. I've been a Trekkie my whole life. My father was a Trekkie before me, my uncles were Trekkies before me, my aunts were Trekkies before me. Really just a whole family of Trekkies. When I first was allowed to vote in the Star Trek fan club presidential race, I voted for Matt Campbell. He stood for what I stood for, and I supported that candidate. In this last election, I supported for Dick Johnson. Now, in this election, I want to talk about Chris Smith. You see, he scares me a little bit. It's like, I don't know what he stands for. Take it this way. I have a friend who tells me, do not necessarily think that because he's saying kind of outlandish things now, that he will say those outlandish things if he assumes the role of president. You know, because the race for the presidency will make you say some weird things so you can get elected. But I don't agree with that statement. I think the one thing that defines a good president, besides his or her favorite characters, story arcs, seasons really, is the people behind him, his cabinet, his advisors, his vice president, his historian, his secretary, you know, things like that. And I don't know what his advisors stand for, really. They say these things, but I don't understand what they're for. I get what they're against, which seems to be everything, but I don't know what they're for. Now, his advisors aren't everything, but you see, Mr. Smith seems to be unserious about what he says sometimes. Like, for example, our historian comes up to him and says, on such and such date, we have you down with a quote that says blah, blah, blah. And he comes back and says something like, well, that's not exactly what I meant. Oh, well, what did you mean? Is he serious when he says he didn't mean it that way? Is he serious when he says he did mean it that way? I don't understand. How can you be a president when you don't mean what you say? Now, our current president, President Janine, she knows what she's saying. She just lays out the facts. She says stuff like, hey, take the transporter, just X amount of molecules, break apart, and then X amount of molecules, put them back together so you can form on the holodeck. So you're back and you're beamed up. Now, Goldwater, what does he mean when he says things? He doesn't really seem to have anything that he means specifically. Like, for example, the other day, Mr. Smith said something along the lines of that he didn't want any more Star Trek shows. Now, did he mean he didn't want any more Star Trek shows like the Deep Space Nine? I agree with that. That one wasn't that good. But if he means something along the lines of he doesn't want any more Star Trek shows in general, I don't agree with that. That's not what I support. Because we always could use more Star Trek. I really wish I could have been at the nomination party in San Francisco. You see, if I would have been there, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall, maybe I wish I could have been a delegate, honestly, because I would have fought for what I believed in. Because I truly believe that the nomination house party got it wrong in San Francisco. I would have fought for my candidate. I would have fought to make sure Mr. Smith was never the nominee for our party for Star Trek Fan Club President. I don't agree with it. So, another friend told me, hey, why don't you just not vote? But I can't do that, because if I don't vote, it means I don't care. And I do care, because this is the Star Trek Fan Club President we're talking about. I have to care. This is the person that's going to lead us. So, I will be voting, but I will be voting to right the wrong that my party did in San Francisco. I will fix this nomination by voting. Vote Janine for Star Trek Fan Club President next Tuesday. See you at the polls.